This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, fast ferry. The province announces a high-speed electric ferry service between Bedford and downtown Halifax in less than 4 years.
Encampment clear out. Halifax takes the final steps in shutting down 3 tent encampments.
And Mansour's Menswear. This Amherst store celebrates a century of family business.
Building clouds tonight into Tuesday ahead of some wet weather, which rolls in later Tuesday into Wednesday. Temps staying mild. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. After decades of talk, it now looks like a fast ferry from Bedford to Halifax is going to become a reality.
Over $200 million was announced today for the project to enter the next phase.
As we hear in this report from the CBC's Paul Palmater, both the ferries and the new terminals will be built green.
The Mill Cove ferry is coming.
Halifax West MP Lena Metledge-Diab announced $155 million in federal funding for the next phase of the planned fast ferry from Bedford to downtown Halifax. 5 electric ferries will be operating out of a new terminal built off the Bedford Highway.
The foundation for any healthy and prosperous community is infrastructure that meets people's needs. And at a time like now, our infrastructure has to keep up.
The Nova Scotia government is contributing $65 million to the project. The new Mill Cove terminal and community hub will be an eco-friendly net zero facility.
As Nova Scotians, we are defined by the ocean. We are a coastal people. We're also a province that is growing and facing the challenges and opportunities that go along with unprecedented population growth.
The new ferry terminal will be linked to the Bedford waterfront, and a new public library will also be built in the area. 2 other fast ferries will be built. One will go in the area of Larry Utek Boulevard, ground zero for Nova Scotia's rapid population growth, where many new developments are still in the building stage. The other will be built on land near Shannon Park. Those parcels of land have yet to be purchased, and there are no timelines on when they could be built. The fast ferries could drastically reduce the amount of congestion on roads like the Bedford Highway.
No more studies, no more plans, no more market studies, no more consultation, no more funding debates. This is happening.
People will be able to travel from Bedford to downtown Halifax in 18 minutes, catching a ferry every 15 minutes at rush hour. The ferries will provide short travel times because they follow a direct route through the harbour where there is no traffic.
When the projects are all done, ferries will be coming from 5 different directions, and a major renovation will be needed to get the existing ferry terminal ready for boats. The long-awaited water commute from Bedford to Halifax is expected to be ready in less than 4 years. Paul Palmater, CBC News, Bedford.
After warning for weeks that 5 municipally sanctioned encampments are closing, Halifax staff and contractors moved in today to fence off some of the last remaining parks. The CBC's Nicholas Seguin has the latest.
After weeks of anxious anticipation, the day finally came. A new metal fence makes it clear the handful of people left here in Victoria Park have no time left.
They're kicking everybody out. They're treating everybody like dogs with this fence.
In early February, the municipality sent out eviction notices to 55 people, saying the parks are a health and safety risk and there are spots for everyone inside. Today, they kicked those efforts up a notch.
We gave the individuals that were living rough in those places a 2 weeks notice to vacate. So that expired last week.
Since then, 2 of the de-designated parks have been emptied and closed. Volunteers in Grand Parade say only 2 people are left there, and the Lower Sackville encampment, once the biggest in the region, is now empty, ready for the construction to start on a tiny home village to house 62 people.
It's all positive. I think we're at 55 individuals at the beginning, and if we're down to the last 3 or 4, I think that's we're on the right track.
But today was still painful for some.
This is everybody's homes. This is the only place they get to go.
The province says there are just under 400 shelter beds in HRM. Though many of them are full, there are still spots reserved at the new Halifax Forum shelter. But some people don't feel safe there.
In general, I'm hoping for the province and the city to acknowledge that shelters are not a solution to the housing crisis, and there's various reasons those options don't work for people who are forced outside.
Neither level of government can force people to go inside. So Tammy was told to move 100 meters to this median, where she'll still be out in the cold. Nicholas Sagan, CBC News, Halifax.
The political fight over the consolidation of the town of Antigonish and the county that surrounds it played out at Province House today. A bill to allow that merger to go ahead was before the legislature's Law Amendments Committee. Those who want to delay or stop the plan urge the PC government not to pass the bill until after this fall's municipal elections or unless there's a public vote on the issue. Councils for the town and county have both voted in favor of merging, a decision that's being challenged in the courts. Antigonish resident Anne-Marie Long, who is part of a group Let Antigonish Decide, says there's no evidence that the merger is the right thing to do.
There has not been factual information provided by municipal affairs or the municipal units that would allow a reasonable evaluation to be made. So far, all we've heard is this is going to be better, climate's going to be better, we can get better housing. But show us the facts. You would never buy a business the way this is being conducted.
The mayor of Antigonish, Lori Boucher, is urging the Houston government to push ahead with a bill. She says the issue has been widely debated since the councils voted in favor of consolidation in the fall of 2022.
Paper ballots are making a comeback in this fall's Cape Breton regional municipality elections to provide an option for those who don't want to vote electronically. Voters will still have the option to vote by phone or computer, but CBRM Councillor Lauren Green says after the last election, he feels electronic voting is open to what he calls deception.
We had an entire family vote that didn't reside in CBRM, never mind not just simply the district, but not even in CBRM. And I did bring it to the attention of the chief returning officer. Unfortunately, it went nowhere. That's the unfortunate part with it.
I'll talk to Lauren Green about his concerns around electronic voting. That's our Newsmaker interview just after 6:30.
Public health officials in the province are urging anyone born after 1970 to get another measles shot. Cases of the measles are on the rise in Canada, especially in Quebec, where 10 cases have been reported. Nova Scotia's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Robert Strang, says he expects to see cases in Nova Scotia, too. He says those born between 1970 and 1996 likely only have one shot. He's recommending getting one more.
A shot of sunshine certainly helped today. That was a beauty day.
What a day, yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
It was very spring-like.
Yeah, absolutely. And another spring-like day shaping up for tomorrow and also for Wednesday. It's a late week when things get a little interesting, that is for sure. A satellite radar picture, you can see very quiet out there today. We had some sunshine thanks to this area of high pressure, and we'll see a bit more sunshine in the mix for tomorrow, but the clouds building in thanks to, some unsettled weather working its way from southwest to northeast over the next few days. So building clouds overnight, more so through tomorrow morning. Note the temperatures. Southerly winds, so we're going to be in the 4 or 5 degree range right along the Atlantic coastline in those cooler onshore winds. Away from the water, 8, 9, likely even a couple of double digits in a few backyards tomorrow. So nice, but we will see a few showers edging their way in late tomorrow afternoon in through the southwest. Better chance overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning with some periods of rain. And then that first little wave pushes out. Quiet again Wednesday evening. Then here comes the next system. And again, this is going to be one that is going to take another day or two to get the real nitty-gritty details. But here's what we do know. Thursday is going to be wet. Periods of rain. Lots of moisture with this system to play with as it moves in. Ingredient number 2 is the cold air moving in on the back side of this system. That's looking more and more likely to change things to snow for New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and possibly into northern Nova Scotia. In between, we're going to see this period in pink, this area in pink, with potentially A prolonged period of freezing rain, ice pellets, just a real mess. And you can see the rain continues to the south. We'll all transition over to the ice and a little bit of snow through Thursday night into Friday morning before this all kicks out. So basically from Wednesday night in through Friday afternoon, things are looking quite unsettled. Tom and Amy will drill down into this a little more detail with your 7-day, but stay tuned to the forecast for the next few days.
Yeah, do stay tuned. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Well, calls continue for the Nova Scotia government to reverse its decision on scrapping the Coastal Protection Act. Even though the legislation passed with all party support in 2019, last Monday the province announced it will not proclaim the act. It would have set out strict rules around property development in sensitive coastal areas. Sid Dumarek sits on the Chester Village Planning Advisory Committee. He says the province's decision puts the onus back on smaller communities.
We have given a lot of thought and discussion about sea rise and building too close to the ocean and things of that nature. And we've always felt we didn't have to have our own legislation because the government had our back and we're coming up with their own legislation. So this is a huge disappointment from that aspect.
The province's environment minister says there is now more information available for property owners to make informed decisions on where to build safely. But Dumarek says people can't always be trusted to do the right thing.
Ottawa is investing a little over $2 million in a new sports facility in Cape Breton. The former hockey rink in Sydney will be transformed into a space for basketball, volleyball, and pickleball. A portion of the work will be installing solar panels to make it more efficient. A nonprofit group known as Tomorrow's Legends is spearheading the project. The group's leader is a local basketball coach.
We were disadvantaged when we were going away and playing other teams up the line who had dozens of facilities and access. So we had some serious conversations at the boardroom level and decided that we really need to see this through and get facilities here in our own region where we can attract more kids to play and play at competitive and recreational levels.
The group is in the process of taking ownership of the building from the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. They will be looking to raise money, another $700,000. They say a request for funding has already been made to the provincial government.
A beloved mural that was painted inside a fast food restaurant in Halifax 30 years ago now has a new home. The iconic piece of art was painstakingly removed and transported to a craft brewery, where the owners hope people will continue to enjoy it for years to come. Taryn Grant has that story for us.
Do you recognize this mural? If you visited the McDonald's on Quinpool Road in Halifax anytime in the past 3 decades, you've seen it before. But that McDonald's is now closed, soon to be torn down.
A lot of people were worried about the fate of the mural, but 3 friends actually did something about it, and they brought it here. Let's go inside and take a look.
5 years ago, I was living in that neighborhood and walking by one day, had noticed the signage from the municipality, the notice that it was going to be redeveloped. And I think probably that same day, sort of, half as a joke, started a petition to save it.
That led him to a conversation with the developer, who agreed he could have it. Once the restaurant finally closed, the developer handed over the keys for a weekend.
Yeah, he's just go in, take the mural, take whatever you want.
He seemed rather excited that it wasn't going to end up in the trash, so.
It took several days to carefully cut the drywall into panels and gently pry it away from the studs. Now it's installed in its new home, the arcade inside the Propeller Brew Pub, ready to be revealed, not just to its adoring fans, but also to its creator, artist Ray Lafrane.
Where'd you put it? It's right there. Oh my God! Oh, that's it. Okay. Wow.
Lafrane spent 120 hours painting the mural in 1994, not to mention the hours he spent drafting the design. He says McDonald's paid him $3,000 or $4,000. He can't remember exactly. But what does stick with him is the fact that his art had an impact.
And that's sometimes a hard job. You can affect people with shock and awe. But to do something beautiful and have it get inside people's heads, it's a good thing.
He never expected the mural to have such a long life, or for anyone to be as committed to saving it as these 3 men.
You did a good job.
Thanks.
Wow.
Taryn Grant, CBC News, Halifax.
And it lives on.
It looks pretty good there above the pinball machines.
It does.
For sure.
It's nice to see. Well, a family business in Amherst is preparing to mark its centennial. Since opening in September of 1924, Mansour's Menswear has survived the Great Depression and COVID-19.
The CBC's Luke Ettinger traveled there to iron out the details of the clothing store's history. Have a look.
This is the original ledger of the store. So you can see here, rent received September 1924, Mike Mansour, $35. So that's the very first day of business. They wrote this down. So that's pretty interesting and pretty cool. You know, there's not a lot of stores that have started in the early century, right? So this is my Uncle Mike here. He founded the store in 1924. Before he had the store, he used to walk around the countryside and go around with his horse and wagon selling stuff. So in 1932, he opened a candy store like 2 blocks away from here. And then, so he spent most of his time at the candy store where my grandfather ran the store with his cousin Norman. This is a good shot here. This is my grandfather, my dad, and me. It's nice to be able to walk in the same place that your dad did and your grandfather did. Just a beautiful feeling, right? Mm-hmm.
When did you take over ownership?
1995. I always sort of joked that I had the longest apprenticeship course in Amherst, but sort of was like 25 years working with my father and his cousin, and they were all always telling me what to do, one way or the other. We try to almost meet everybody in a way, like we have real dressy items, suits and sport coats for weddings and different occasions, and people that wear them to work. It's not as common, but there is still a lot of people that wear suits to work too.
It's perfect, right?
It is perfect. Off and on, my family's been coming here for years and years. I live just in Sackville across the marsh, so it's kind of always been a destination for really nice clothes and awesome service. You come in, they greet you, they know you by name, happy to help. You know, everything is hemmed and they do all the work in-house, so have it all nicely ironed and cleaned for me when I come pick it up, and call me as soon as it's ready. Like, the service is second to none.
They honor what they sell, and to me that's a big thing. I think that goes back 4 generations. Mr. Mansour was always like that, his son is like that, right? That's the thing. I expect this place to last for my grandchildren. I hope so.
I've been here for just over 20 years. We're always making sure that the store is always looking good and it's nice and clean and properly organized. It's just a great pillar of our community to have Mansours here in a small town of Amherst.
This picture was in the 30s because man had a meat shop here, Hastings Meat Shop, in this half of the store.
Like, for me, the most difficult point was COVID. It's nice to be like back to normal. People are starting to dress up again, go to different events. I think work from home is a big trend that sort of changes things, and we do a really good job here of having a lot of different clothing. This is the oldest one here, M. Mansour Men's Shop, Amherst, Nova Scotia. Because we've been here so long, like, we just know so much about clothes, right? Like, say you get like the odd time something will come in and it's got a little fleck of something else, like, you know how to poke it through, or, like all kinds of stuff, like you just wouldn't have any idea how to do if you hadn't operated a store for 100 years.
I think after all that time, we can call it a successful business,
I
don't
would
you
think so, definitely.
Meets the bill. All right, that's it for our first block. First quick break on the way. Stay with us.
There's a lot more to come on CBC Nova Scotia News. Coming up, a United Nations special envoy says Hamas likely used sexual violence during its October 7th attack on Israel.
A big win for Donald Trump. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled he can stay on the ballot in Colorado.
And there's a look at the Prince's Lodge Rotunda in Bedford. Ryan's up next with his weather forecast. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
Yeah, it was lovely today. I actually saw someone in a t-shirt.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure it's that warm, but
Not flip
it's
flops and
encouraging.
shorts too,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Or-
I saw shorts yesterday.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's always somebody pushing it a little bit.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate it. I know there are folks who March 1st to like October 31st will go shorts, the diehards for sure. Let's have a look. Listen, it was definitely t-shirt weather down in Shelburne and Yarmouth today. That is where, we got into the 13-degree range. So nice and mild there. What a contrast from Pictou. That's the Caribou Point station. So obviously a bit cooler there. Safe to say, just inland in New Glasgow, temperatures were probably closer to where they were in Antigonish today, which is right around 5 degrees. But yeah, lovely, lovely day for today. Obviously, variable temperatures are going to be the name of the game right through until summer at this point, because it's all about the onshore winds, right? Right now, cooler onshore wind coming in along that Northumberland shore. That's temperatures cooling off here. And you can see where temps mildest here in the south and west. Current winds, onshore wind, and yes, Halifax, a bit of a northeasterly wind in through Lunenburg right now. Just a lovely day, as we said, thanks to this area of high pressure, which has been nicely dominating. And we'll take that all the time in the spring, because we know high pressure can be, a little bit elusive over the next few months. So we'll certainly take it when we can get it. So what we've got going on here, high pressure moving out, and we've got this frontal boundary, which stretches from Hudson Bay all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Lots of moisture that's going to be streaming up ahead of this, as well as mild temperatures. Colder air funneling in on the backside of this. That's the other key ingredient, right, when you have these developing storm systems. So is there cold air? Yeah, there's cold air, all right. Have a look out west. Minus teens for highs today. Regina and through Alberta, and even Winnipeg in the minus double digits. So this is a cold air mass that's pushing back down. And as a result, we're getting, pretty significant storm system brewing, which will be impacting us. Here's how things are playing out for tonight. Overnight lows near the freezing mark, especially right along the coastline through Yarmouth, Shelburne, and Digby counties. -2 to -5 through central areas, and more like -4 to -7 or 8 through the east and into Cape Breton. Now, as you can see with your hour by hour, we will see the clouds kind of thickening up in through the southwest by tomorrow morning. Pretty thick, but although this is likely high-level clouds, so I think maybe a bit of sun still filtering in for you folks early morning in the Tri-County area and along the South Shore. That cloud cover will thicken up as we move throughout the morning from southwest to northeast, though pretty nice day sunshine-wise, Northumberland Shore and Cape Breton tomorrow, but you folks will certainly see the clouds building in. There are those showers edging in Shelburne, Liverpool, Lunenburg, up into the Halifax area, right around home time, but not significant, but enough that if you are on foot, you want to make sure that you at least have a light rain jacket on hand for the trip home tomorrow. 4 to 6 degrees across Cape Breton for tomorrow. We'll likely crack 8-9 degrees for the Northumberland Shore tomorrow, especially if we get into that sunshine that we are expecting through a good chunk of the day. 7, 8, 9 degrees through the valley tomorrow as well, with those shower chances starting to edge in there, but it's a greater risk here. Liverpool, Shelburne, Yarmouth, Queens County, and then again edging into the Halifax metro area by the time we get into the late afternoon. So Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, this is that first round we talked about. Not expecting a lot of rain from this, 5 to 15 millimeters perhaps. That pushes out Wednesday afternoon, some lingering clouds and showers. So overall, Wednesday is going to be a mild day. Fog patches will be in the mix with this southwesterly wind. Temperatures 8 to 12 degrees. Now, Wednesday night in through Thursday morning, here's that system we were talking about earlier. Lots of moisture with this. So this looks like for Thursday, it will be a significant rainfall event. Over 25 millimeters looking quite likely, which is, again, rainfall warning criteria. On the back side of the system with all that moisture and the cold air, this looks like significant snow. New Brunswick into PEI, edging possibly into northern Nova Scotia, but I think the greater risk for northern Nova Scotia is going to be the prolonged period of freezing rain possible, ice pellets mixing to snow. And yes, it looks like we'll all eventually mix over, though the further towards the Atlantic coastline you are, likely the less chance that we'll see any significant icing, but it's certainly possible. No question about it. We'll drill into that in more detail as we move into tomorrow. But yeah, rain to an icy mix through Thursday into Thursday night. Wintry mix lingers early Friday, but a clear out late day. And then Saturday, at least, is looking quiet for now. Tom and Amy.
A little messy in the meantime, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, 7x7 restaurant in downtown Sydney is back in business.
It comes after a record-breaking snowfall damaged their roof and ceiling and nearly caused them to shut down for good. Staff and management are now hoping for calmer days ahead.
My name is Tristan Barnes. I'm the general manager here at 7x7, and we are very relieved and thankful to be open again. The first snowfall happened. We went to get the snow cleared off from that. Then more snow came after that. So it the damage started from the first storm. The second storm didn't help adding onto that. We made plans for the roof to be cleared off, and as people went up on the roof, that's when we had the ceiling collapse in the bar. We were closed, almost 3 weeks of closure in February. We missed Valentine's Day. So yeah, not great. Had we stayed closed for much longer, we probably would not have reopened. You know, the bills don't stop coming in just because you're closed. You need every cent you can in February. So yeah, that was my concern, is that we were not going to get open, which would be a shame. What we've had to put out for repairs, snow removal, like everything. It all adds up with nothing coming in. So that's what we need. We need people coming in the door. We need people ordering takeout. We need people supporting us, and we need there to be no more major issues. Nothing, just let us be open. Let us be open, and we'll do the rest.
They still have tons of snow there.
They do.
Looking forward to that melting, I'm sure. Up next, I'll talk with CBRM Councillor Lauren Green. We'll stay in Sydney about why he's against electronic voting in this fall's municipal election. That's our newsmaker.
Stay with us. You're watching CBC Nova Scotia News.
Paper ballots are making a comeback in this fall's Cape Breton regional municipality elections to provide an option for those who don't want to vote electronically. Voters will still have the option to vote by phone or computer. Lauren Green is a councillor with Cape Breton Regional Municipality. Sir, you're not too keen on voting by computer or phone. Why not?
It allows for deception with voting. It allows people to do votes that are not entitled to be voting in a particular district or the particular municipality they reside in.
What kind of stories have you heard? What have you experienced?
Well, I've experienced it myself firsthand at my last election, where we had an entire family vote that didn't reside in CBRM, never mind not just simply the district, but not even in CBRM. And I did bring it to the attention of the chief returning officer. Unfortunately, it went nowhere. That's the unfortunate part with it.
So how would a situation like that be able to happen?
Well, it's very easy to happen. It's simply as mailing out a PIN number to that particular family because they have a residence here. So the family would have got the PIN at their address, and of course, all you need to know is that PIN number, and you just simply vote. Doesn't discriminate according to location. It just allows you to vote because you received a PIN.
So why did they receive a PIN?
Well, because they used to reside here, obviously. But they moved. I think it probably would have been 2 years prior to the election, maybe even more. And of course, the voters list wasn't updated to reflect that. And of course, they got a PIN and they were able to vote.
So do you think the problem is electronic voting, or do you think it's the voters list?
I think it's electronic voting, for sure, because, Tom, here's another thing I don't think a lot of people have put a lot of thought in, and we've heard a lot in recent time. AI is a real thing now that exists now, and that opportunity for that AI to take over and control a voters list is pretty simple when you look at what's happening with AI now. So I mean, it's a scary thought that someone doesn't have to be physically there; they can just simply be behind a keyboard and vote.
Is there a way to improve electronic voting, do you think?
I don't know that you'd ever improve it. Anything that can be done on the computer can be manipulated for sure. So I don't know that there's any way to, control it. Improve it, yeah, you may be able to improve it, but I don't know you'd ever have any full control of it.
So just to be clear, are you disputing any past election results?
No, I did what I needed to do during the election. I brought it to the chief returning officer's attention. I'm not disputing anything. It could cause the potential for the results of the election to be skewed is definitely there, and that's what scares me.
Is anyone or are many people talking about that up there?
Well, interesting. Once the article ran this morning on CBC radio, I got a few calls on it, and most of the calls I did receive, they say they don't support electronic voting. They'd like to go into the polling station, and for a lot of people, it's an outing. It's a social thing that they like to do. So all the calls that I received, they don't support electronic voting. They want a paper ballot. They want that option to have that paper ballot. They think it's much safer because people are less likely to try to fake to be someone else if they have to be there in person.
Council did decide to go with a hybrid option. Is that any better?
Well, the hybrid option is, it's not that it's any better. It's the option for full electronic is not there, which I don't even support a hybrid. I want it all to be paper ballots, but majority rules, and that's what they're going to go with. So we'll see how it unfolds.
And so by hybrid, can you just explain to voters out there what that will mean for them practically?
Yeah, hybrid means that, in fact, you can do electronic voting right up until the actual voting day or the advanced poll day. So they will be able to do that electronically via computer, phone line. And then, of course, Election Day will be a paper ballot that they'll actually have to go to a polling station.
Well, we'll see what people do choose when the time comes. Lauren Green, appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.
Coming up, a St. John's senior is warning others about automatic renewal subscriptions after more than $1,000 was charged to his credit card. A new UN report says there is reasonable grounds to believe Hamas committed rape and sexual violence against women during the October 7th attack on Israel.
Reporter William Denslow has the latest from New York, but first a warning that viewers may find some parts of the story disturbing.
The assessments made by the UN Special Representative follows dozens of witness interviews and the review of more than 5,000 photos and roughly 50 hours of footage. Pramila Patton says there's clear and convincing information that sexual violence, including rape, has been committed against Israeli captives taken during the October 7th attack. She adds there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred in at least 3 locations during that raid.
In most of these incidents, victims were first subjected to rape and then killed, and at least 2 incidents relate to the rape of women's corpses.
On that day, roughly 1,200 people in Israel were killed by Hamas-led militants, and more than 250 were taken hostage. Since then, more than 30,000 people have been killed in the Palestinian enclave of Gaza, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. The UN Special Representative didn't go to Gaza, but after visiting the West Bank, said there were reports of sexual violence against Palestinian women during Israeli raids and at checkpoints. Patton's report requests a full investigation and has reiterated UN calls for an urgent ceasefire. William Denslow for CBC News, New York.
Talks for a ceasefire in Gaza have so far been unproductive. And as Israel keeps up its unrelenting offensive in the territory, there's growing alarm over a lack of aid and the worsening humanitarian crisis, and the war's toll on some of the most vulnerable. Chris Brown has those details, but a warning, viewers may find some of the images disturbing.
Much of Gaza is starving, but 10-year-old Yazan Al-Kafarna's case is especially awful. Born with cerebral palsy, his family couldn't access the specific food and medical care he needed to fight off his illnesses. There's nothing available for my son, his anguished father told a videographer working for CBC News when he met the family over the weekend. Before the war, we could get the food we needed. Now, all the food I used to get him isn't available. His hospital ward in Rafah is filled with other severely undernourished children. Dr. Bilal Al-Shafi says what they're enduring is affecting their brains and development and will haunt them for life if they survive. Israel says such desperate scenes are not its fault, that the problem lies in distributing food inside Gaza. But pre-war, 500 or more trucks a day entered the territory. Now it's just a fifth of that. Humanitarian groups make the damning allegation that starvation is part of a deliberate Israeli policy.
To us, this is definitely a matter of collective punishment of the people of Palestine for what has happened on October 7th. People are drinking toilet water, they're eating wild plants, they're using animal fodder to make bread.
Nations have begun using airdrops as an insufficient stopgap, as the United States, arguably Israel's staunchest ally, joins a chorus of international voices urging Israel to let more aid trucks in. At the Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza, there isn't enough food to feed even the tiniest patients. 15 children have died there in recent days, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Doctors say mothers can't nurse their babies or give them any immunities because they themselves are too malnourished. On Monday morning came word that Yazan had died. Oxfam is predicting there will be mass deaths from starvation in Gaza very soon. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Authorities in Haiti have declared a state of emergency after a very violent weekend. Gangs destroyed infrastructure and overran the country's two biggest prisons. Yesterday, doors of the prisons remained open. Hundreds of inmates fled, but some remained behind. Gangs already control most of the capital. They're trying to get rid of the current prime minister. His predecessor was assassinated in 2021. On Friday, Haiti signed an agreement with Kenya to supply troops for a UN-approved security force.
Maine says Donald Trump can be on its U.S. presidential ballot in November. The state reversed its ban after a unanimous decision today by the U.S. Supreme Court. The top court blocked Colorado's attempt to disqualify Trump over the U.S. Capitol riot on January the 6th of 2021. Paul Hunter has the story.
I want to start by thanking the Supreme Court.
For Donald Trump, it is being described as monumental, a clear and massive win. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling his name can be on the ballot for the presidential election this fall. The court's 9 justices unanimously reversing a decision by the top court in Colorado that had decided Trump was disqualified.
You cannot take somebody out of a race. The voters can take the person out of the race very quickly, but a court shouldn't be doing that, and the Supreme Court saw that very well.
The case stems from the rioting on Capitol Hill January 6, 2021. Those in the crowd egged on by Trump as they tried to prevent Joe Biden from gaining the presidency. The U.S. Constitution specifically prohibits any who've engaged in insurrection against the U.S. from holding office. But after arguments at the Supreme Court last month, the justices agreed no single state, and indeed other U.S. states have followed Colorado's lead, can be allowed to disqualify a federal candidate in that way, ruling only the U.S. Congress can do that. But even as efforts to keep Trump off this year's ballots failed, those who'd led the push to do so underlined.
What's important to note is that the Supreme Court's decision today did not exonerate him. They did not say that January 6th wasn't an insurrection, and they did not say that he didn't engage in insurrection. Instead, the court let him off on a technicality.
All of this one day ahead of so-called Super Tuesday, when millions of Americans will cast ballots toward nominating candidates for the White House. One day after his win at the Supreme Court, but while still battling multiple other criminal and civil cases against him, Donald Trump is expected to all but officially secure his nomination tomorrow. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Natural disasters are striking more and more often, and critics are warning that as new ones strike Canada, they won't always be striking a country that's well prepared. The CBC's Marina von Stackelberg reports.
We actually have 3 locations.
Communities in the BC interior are preparing their emergency command centers for a summer Ottawa warns could be worse than last year's record-breaking wildfire season. One of the tactics, controlled burns, a method that held off this fire near the town of Kimberley last year.
It is proof that the science around how to provide landscape management is there. Again, we just need to get the senior levels of government on board.
In Yellowknife, after a wildfire last summer led to a 3-week mandatory evacuation, the city is now paying to update its communication systems and hire more coordination staff.
The biggest thing that's missing is dollars to municipalities to actually be prepared. When it comes to our territorial funding, we receive no funding to be emergency prepared.
The provinces and territories have met with Canada's emergency preparedness minister ahead of the upcoming season.
So I would say it's a different strategy. It's about coordinating to be more responsive.
When pressed on what their new strategy was, Harjit Sajjan didn't specify. Instead, he pointed to the need for early wildfire detection and what individuals can do to protect their homes.
Was actually moving patio furniture out of the way, because most of the patio furniture, when it lights up, it burns longer and it burns brighter. And then the house has a potential to catch on fire.
This expert says she doesn't hear a clear plan.
We need to hit the ground running now, and not much was said on, okay, what is the implementation going to go forward over the next few weeks?
Ottawa has promised to speed up its financial support after disasters hit, but those changes won't happen for over a year.
If you're a homeowner, you can't be certain of how much money you're going to get, what it's going to pay for, or even how long it's going to take.
Back in Yellowknife, the city is still filling out paperwork to get money from Ottawa for last summer's forest fires, all while trying to prepare for another fast-approaching wildfire season. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
A powerful and rare blizzard slammed into northern California and Nevada over the weekend. Some areas of the region saw more than 2 meters of snow. The blizzard closed more than 110 kilometers of roads between the two states. Many drivers were forced to contend with very unfamiliar conditions, and some were even trapped out on the roads and had to dig their cars out of the snow.
A 92-year-old man in St. John's is speaking out about automatic renewal subscriptions. He unknowingly entered into a contract with an American company that until recently he couldn't get out of. Ariana Kelland has the details and tells us how one organization is calling for stronger consumer protection laws.
This is a copy of the invoice.
All Lloyd Walker wanted was a single coin, a gift for his great-granddaughter who turned 2.
I think right now there's about 12 coins here. Some of the envelopes I haven't opened because I know what's in it.
In July, Walker got this flyer in the mail. The Bradford Exchange was advertising this Queen's Jubilee coin for $69.99 plus shipping. He ordered it by mail and paid the invoice by credit card.
I'd say there's about $1,000 taken out of the account.
Walker wrote the company a letter in October asking them to stop, but the coins and withdrawals kept coming. In an email to CBC News, the Bradford Exchange says its advertising is clear. Pointing to one of its coin collections on its website, a spokesperson wrote that the ad indicates expressly that it is a collection and a subscription plan. Walker says it was not clear to him that he would be on the hook for items he didn't order himself.
Auto renewals are notoriously difficult to extract yourself from, and a lot of the practices that we see border on predatory.
Tamblyn Watts says her organization gets about a call per week about a variety of businesses offering automatic subscriptions.
We need much stronger consumer protections, and we need to make sure that companies are held to account, particularly for targeting vulnerable populations like seniors.
For Walker, he says it's not about the money, it's about the principle, and a warning for others not to make the same mistake. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the snow, where there's any left at all, is certainly taking a beating today.
Yeah.
And a lot of rain coming at the end of the week.
Yeah, that's right. first round is going to be less, and then we've got another round that will be substantial and may end with an icy old mess on top of that. And that looks more likely for northern parts of Nova Scotia. Let's get into that in just a sec. First and foremost, our viewer picture of the day. And yeah, you know, it's time of the year, ready or not. Here we come.
So that's the first of the season, isn't it?
Are they called snowdrops?
Snowdrops, that's right. Yeah, that's the first snowdrops in my mailbox anyway. And thanks to Terry McLaughlin for sharing this from beautiful Cow Bay. And thanks, Terry. Temperatures tomorrow, snowdrops are like this, 5 to 9 degrees. So looking quite mild again for tomorrow. Wednesday, again, periods of rain more likely Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then just cloudy with showers Wednesday afternoon, as it will be mild. And just with this southerly flow, fog patches are going to be an issue as well for travel Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and then again Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And this is when, again, we're looking at a more substantial shot of rain Thursday throughout the day, as you can see some of those darker greens and yellows moving in as lots of moisture gets absorbed into this system, and that colder air on the back side of this system means some significant snow setting up. Looks that's more likely for New Brunswick into PEI. Northern Nova Scotia, though, could see some snow from this as well, but it looks like an icy mess ahead of what snow will fall, so we'll keep you posted on that.
Hey, Saturday looks nice.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, the bachelor party in India has made news over the weekend.
That's right, partly because the host is reportedly the richest man in Asia, and partly because of the guest list.
Anat Ambani is the groom-to-be. The get-together was at a 1,200 hectare garden party.
Rihanna made an appearance. She sang at the party. Mark Zuckerberg, Ivanka Trump, and Canada's Stephen Harper were also there.
Throwing the lavish bash is Ambani's father, estimated worth $111 billion with a B.
And no invite for us.
It'd be nice to get an invite, wouldn't it? That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.